My husband left a note saying never loved you anyway. He thought he'd drained our accounts and vanished for good. What he didn't know. I'm a forensic accountant. While he was plotting, I was building a case. And when the FBI showed up, his con came crashing down. He picked the wrong woman to betray. The note on the fridge read, "Goodbye. Never loved you anyway." That was it. No explanations, no apologies, just cold ink on a yellow sticky note, left beside an empty coffee mug. And his wedding band. I stood in the kitchen of our Milwaukee home, staring at it like it was a punch to the gut. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I actually smiled. Because I knew something Brandon didn't. He had just played himself. I'm Isla Davenport, 36, forensic accountant, 15 years in corporate fraud. My job? Catching liars, embezzlers, and financial manipulators who think they're smarter than everyone else. Brandon never stood a chance. The first sign came 3 months ago when he randomly started asking about our retirement accounts. The man who used to say, "You handle the money, babe," suddenly wanted spreadsheets and statements. Cute. Then came the business trips. Chicago, Denver, even Phoenix, always last minute, always vague. I cross-checked the conferences he claimed to attend. None existed. The final straw? His credit card statement. It listed a $3,200 purchase at a jewelry store. But I hadn't received anything sparkly. That's when I stopped being a wife and started being a professional. Behind the scenes, I went into full investigation mode. I flagged our joint accounts, created decoy funds, installed screen capture software on his laptop, documented every suspicious transaction, and every bit of evidence, sent straight to my lawyer. Brandon thought he was planning the perfect exit. I was planning his downfall. The morning he disappeared, I got up early and checked my phone like clockwork. Fraud alerts. Dozens of them. Failed withdrawals, frozen accounts, denied purchases. The man had tried to wipe out our savings. I watched in real time as he failed at every turn. Around 10 a.m., I got a call from his sister, Kelly. "Is Brandon with you?" He said he sent the rent money, but it's not there. I kept my voice calm, neutral. "Oh? That's strange. I'll look into it." She had no idea I knew she wasn't his sister. Just another pawn in his elaborate game. Brandon thought he was slipping away unnoticed, cash in hand. But he didn't realize he was married to someone who had already traced his entire scam pattern. See, money leaves a trail. Always. And Brandon was clumsy. I had already contacted the FBI. They were quietly watching him, waiting. What he didn't know was that I had already submitted a 120-page file documenting everything. From stolen funds to multiple fake identities. What he also didn't know. I wasn't his only victim. But I would be his last. By Monday morning, the puzzle was snapping together faster than I'd anticipated. The FBI had already looped me in. But I didn't expect the next phone call to hit like a freight train. "Hi, is this Isla Davenport?" the voice asked. It was cautious. Strained. "Yes, who's this?" I replied. "My name is Rachel Clark. I believe we might be married to the same man." I stood in stunned silence. Then she said it, his full name, or rather one of his names. Brandon Murphy. He married me in Phoenix in 2019 and vanished with my life savings. I've been tracking him ever since. I gripped the edge of my desk. Brandon had told me his name was Brandon Thompson. We'd been married for 8 years. But Rachel's timeline overlapped with mine. That meant double lives. Possibly more. Over the next hour, Rachel and I compared notes. The patterns were chillingly similar. Same charm, same investment advisor job. Same routine of financial manipulation and emotional distancing. He'd swept her off her feet, isolated her, then drained her accounts. Only this time he had picked the wrong woman. 2 wrong women to be exact. "I've been gathering evidence," I told her. "I've got transaction records, surveillance logs, digital trails. I'm working with the FBI." Her voice cracked with relief. "You're the first person who believes me. Everyone thought I was just bitter." "No," I said firmly. "You're his victim. Just like me. But together, we're going to end him." That afternoon, I met with my lawyer to lay out a timeline. Turns out, Brandon wasn't just a serial emotional manipulator. He was a con artist on an interstate scale. Dozens of fraudulent bank accounts. false business licenses, even an alias tied to a real estate Ponzi scheme in Texas. But that wasn't the worst of it. The FBI informed me that Brandon was under investigation in at least 3 states and 2 countries. His entire identity had been constructed like scaffolding, barely holding together a crumbling tower of lies. Later that evening I received a text. "Can we talk? One last time." It was from Brandon. Perfect. He was following the same script he used on Rachel. Disappear, wait a few days, then reel the victim back in for one final chance to drain what's left. I didn't reply. I forwarded the message to my lawyer and the FBI instead. "I think it's time," I told them. Agent Morrison, who'd been assigned to the case, agreed. "Let's set the trap." We arranged a fake meeting downtown. A public coffee shop. Controlled environment. Surveillance team in place. All eyes on Brandon. Rachel and I would both be involved. 2 women. 2 targets. 1 mission. As I prepared that night, loading every document, photo, and transaction into my encrypted case file, I realized something. Brandon didn't just underestimate me. He underestimated all of us. The morning of the meeting, I stood in front of the cafe window watching reflections instead of people. My heart beat in quiet rhythm. Not fear, not nerves, just clarity. Brandon had no idea what was coming. Across the street, Rachel sat in a parked car with Agent Morrison. She had her earpiece in, watching the same entrance I did. The FBI surveillance team was positioned in nearby shops, coffee cups in hand, pretending to be customers. Brandon wouldn't even blink at them. That's how guys like him get caught, they only see what they want to see. At exactly 11:02 a.m., he walked in. Same blazer. Same smug look. Same eyes that used to say, "Trust me." He spotted me immediately and lit up like a man who thought the world still worked in his favor. "Isla," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. His hair was disheveled just enough to seem pitiful, like he hadn't slept. His voice. Smooth. Measured. Practiced. "I'm so sorry about how things went down." I panicked. Everything was crashing around me, investments, debt. I didn't know what to do. He reached for my hand. I pulled it back. "Is that what you told Rachel too?" I asked calmly. He froze. Then blinked. Then smiled. "I don't know who that is." Wrong answer. I pulled out the folder. "This is every wire transfer you attempted from our joint accounts. Here's your fake LLC registration in Nevada. And here's proof you tried to open an investment firm under my credentials." He leaned back, jaw tight. The charm faded. "You've been spying on me?" "I'm a forensic accountant, Brandon," I replied coldly. "What did you think I'd do when my numbers didn't match?" The trap was closing. Right on cue, Rachel entered from the side door. Her face stone cold. She sat beside me without a word. Brandon's mouth parted slightly. "You look surprised," Rachel said. "Almost like you forgot you left me broke in Phoenix with nothing but your wedding ring and a canceled mortgage." He glanced toward the door, probably checking his exit options. That's when Agent Morrison stepped forward and showed her badge. "Brandon Roberts, you're under arrest for multiple counts of wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes," she said firmly. The look in his eyes shifted from arrogance to panic. He bolted but didn't get far. 2 plainclothes agents tackled him before he hit the door. As they cuffed him, Brandon looked at me and hissed, "You set me up." I leaned in just slightly, keeping my voice level. "No, Brandon. You set yourself up. I just helped you finish the paperwork." As he was dragged outside, Rachel let out a long breath. That felt better than therapy. I nodded, watching his figure vanish into the back of an unmarked SUV. Justice doesn't always show up with a bang. Sometimes it arrives with a binder full of receipts. But it wasn't over yet. When I returned to the FBI field office later that afternoon, Agent Morrison was waiting, with news that changed everything. Back at the FBI field office, I expected closure. What I got instead was escalation. Agent Morrison greeted me in the briefing room, her expression more intense than before. She slid a folder across the table, thicker than the last. "You might want to sit down," she said. I did. She opened the folder to a photo surveillance, grainy but clear. Brandon wasn't alone in this. Sitting next to him at a high-end wine bar was a woman I recognized instantly. Kelly. His sister. I blinked. That's impossible. Kelly's supposed to be in custody in Chicago. Morrison nodded. She escaped 2 nights ago. We think she bribed a guard. She's been working with Brandon for years. Not his real sister. His accomplice, maybe even his first partner in crime. The weight of it hit me like a freight train. Every call Kelly had made, every moment she'd played the helpless sibling desperate for rent money, it was all part of the scam. The timing, the drama, even the tears. All rehearsed. She's not just playing backup, Morrison continued. She's been helping him target wealthy women for years. Her phone history, travel records, even her bank activity. She's been everywhere Brandon's been. In some cases, she introduced him. Rachel, who'd come with me to the office, sat across the table, pale and silent. She introduced him to me, she whispered. Said he was her brother. Said he just moved to Phoenix and was looking for someone grounded. She played matchmaker. Morrison nodded grimly. It gets worse. We've linked them to at least 5 other women. One in Denver lost her inheritance. Another in Miami had her law firm's retirement fund drained. And we found something else, calls to a burner phone in Montreal. Brandon's not just running cons here. He's got international ties. I tried to process it all. The scam was bigger than I imagined. More structured, more ruthless. These weren't random betrayals. This was a network. Morrison tapped her tablet and pulled up a list of aliases. Brandon Roberts. Brandon Thompson. Brandon Lee. Kevin Stokes. David Carver. Each one had documents, bank accounts, sometimes even fake tax returns. Then a knock on the door. An agent entered and handed Morrison a sealed envelope. She scanned it quickly, then looked up at me. We've got a ping. Kelly just tried to access a cryptocurrency wallet from a location near your house. My blood went cold. Rachel tensed beside me. You think she's coming after Isla? I think she's desperate, Morrison said. And when con artists get desperate, they get sloppy and dangerous. She turned to me. Isla, we're assigning 2 agents to your home. From this point forward, you're not to go anywhere alone. Understood. I nodded, jaw tight. I thought we were nearing the end. But the truth was we were just getting started. Kelly was still out there. And she wasn't running. She was coming straight for me. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind outside felt like it might be her. My hand stayed clenched around my phone. Agent Morrison's number on speed dial. 2 FBI agents sat outside in an unmarked sedan watching. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that the game wasn't over. Not yet. At 2:13 a.m. my instincts proved right. The security system pinged. Motion detected, side window. My heart raced. I crept downstairs in silence, peering through the peephole. No one. But the system didn't lie. I texted Morrison. Movement. Window side. No visuals. Less than 10 seconds later, the agents outside were on the move. Suddenly I heard it, glass shatter. A body dropped into the guest room through the side window. I backed up, grabbed the taser I kept hidden in the hallway drawer. My breath shallow, I listened. Whispers. 2 voices. Not one. Then footsteps crept toward the study, where my laptop was still open, where my evidence was stored. I slipped into the hallway closet and hit speed dial. This is Morrison, she answered instantly. They're inside. Keep hidden. Do not engage. We're breaching now. Before I could reply, I heard a woman's voice in the study. Calm. Familiar. Here. This is it. Her financials. She logged in earlier today. It was Kelly. And someone else. A man with a low, rough voice. I remembered Rachel's warning. Foster. Brandon's old cellmate. The one Morrison said had been acting as Brandon's enforcer. Upload it to the drive, he growled. We wipe her out tonight. That was the last straw. Because they weren't just after Brandon's money. They were trying to erase me. Just then bang. FBI. Don't move. Screams. A thud. Crash. The sound of metal hitting wood. I crept forward, peeking from the closet just as agents stormed the room. Within seconds, Kelly was on the ground, cuffed, snarling like a cornered animal. Foster tried to bolt through the back door, but was tackled before he could take a step outside. Clear, an agent shouted. I stepped out, my legs trembling. Morrison met me at the doorway. You okay? I nodded shakily. I'm okay. Are they both in custody? Yes. Kelly and Foster are in holding. And guess what? She lifted a tablet with a smile. The entire break-in was recorded. Plus, they accessed decoy files once we planted. Their fingerprints are all over it. I exhaled finally. It was over. They'd walked right into it, thinking they were in control, thinking I was still playing defense. But I wasn't. I'd gone from the hunted to the one laying traps. From the victim to the architect of their downfall. Morrison placed a hand on my shoulder. With this, we can press full charges: conspiracy, breaking and entering, identity theft, and financial fraud. And combined with Brandon's pending charges, this entire ring is going down. I looked back at my shattered window, then at the agents loading Kelly and Foster into separate vans, and I realized Brandon's house of cards had finally collapsed. But I was just getting started. That night I didn't sleep. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind outside felt like it might be her. My hand stayed clenched around my phone, Agent Morrison's number on speed dial. 2 FBI agents sat outside in an unmarked sedan watching. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that the game wasn't over. Not yet. At 2:13 a.m. my instincts proved right. The security system pinged. Motion detected side window. My heart raced. I crept downstairs in silence, peering through the peephole. No one. But the system didn't lie. I texted Morrison. Movement. Window side. No visuals. Less than 10 seconds later, the agents outside were on the move. Suddenly I heard it, glass shatter. A body dropped into the guest room through the side window. I backed up, grabbed the taser I kept hidden in the hallway drawer. My breath shallow, I listened. Whispers. 2 voices. Not one. Then footsteps crept toward the study, where my laptop was still open, where my evidence was stored. I slipped into the hallway closet and hit speed dial. This is Morrison, she answered instantly. They're inside. Keep hidden. Do not engage. We're breaching now. Before I could reply, I heard a woman's voice in the study. Calm. Familiar. Here. This is it. Her financials. She logged in earlier today. It was Kelly. And someone else. A man with a low, rough voice. I remembered Rachel's warning. Foster. Brandon's old cellmate. The one Morrison said had been acting as Brandon's enforcer. Upload it to the drive, he growled. We wipe her out tonight. That was the last straw. Because they weren't just after Brandon's money. They were trying to erase me. Just then bang. FBI. Don't move. Screams. A thud. Crash. The sound of metal hitting wood. I crept forward, peeking from the closet just as agents stormed the room. Within seconds, Kelly was on the ground, cuffed, snarling like a cornered animal. Foster tried to bolt through the back door, but was tackled before he could take a step outside. Clear, an agent shouted. I stepped out, my legs trembling. Morrison met me at the doorway. You okay? I nodded shakily. I'm okay. Are they both in custody? Yes. Kelly and Foster are in holding. And guess what? She lifted a tablet with a smile. The entire break-in was recorded. Plus, they accessed decoy files once we planted. Their fingerprints are all over it. I exhaled finally. It was over. They'd walked right into it, thinking they were in control, thinking I was still playing defense. But I wasn't. I'd gone from the hunted to the one laying traps. From the victim to the architect of their downfall. Morrison placed a hand on my shoulder. With this, we can press full charges: conspiracy, breaking and entering, identity theft, and financial fraud. And combined with Brandon's pending charges, this entire ring is going down. I looked back at my shattered window, then at the agents loading Kelly and Foster into separate vans, and I realized Brandon's house of cards had finally collapsed. But I was just getting started. The media storm hit faster than I expected. By noon the next day, headlines splashed across every local outlet. Financial predator exposed. Milwaukee woman outsmarts fraud ring. Conman taken down by forensic accountant wife. Ponzi scheme mastermind unmasked by his own spouse. And there I was, my photo from the courthouse steps next to a grinning mugshot of Brandon Roberts. Gone was the name Brandon Thompson, or Brandon Murphy, or any of the aliases he'd used to worm his way into women's lives. His mask had cracked, and the world saw the face beneath it. First, I worried about the exposure. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls from journalists, messages from strangers. But then came the ones that mattered most. Women. Dozens of them. Some I'd never met. Some from out of state. All with similar stories. He used a different name, but it's him. Same MO. He took $40,000 from my retirement account. He left me pregnant, broke, and convinced I was the problem. Each message fueled the fire inside me. I wasn't just uncovering a personal betrayal. This was bigger. A web of deception that spanned cities, possibly countries. And now that I had the map, I wasn't about to let it go cold. I met with Agent Morrison at the FBI office that afternoon. Her face was lit with a mix of satisfaction and urgency. "We've already identified 11 other victims," she said, placing a file thick with affidavits on the table. "Thanks to your coordination and that conference room recorder, you've helped build one of the strongest federal fraud cases we've seen in years." She slid a folder toward me. "This is the official request. We want you on board." I opened it. A consulting contract. With the Bureau's Financial Crimes Division. "You're the reason we're this far ahead," she added. "We need your insight, your patterns, your documentation. And frankly, your instincts." I smiled, the weight of years lifting from my shoulders. Brandon had tried to bury me. Instead, he handed me the foundation for a brand new legacy. One built not on fear but on justice. Over the next few weeks, my days became a whirlwind of debriefings, data dives, and cross-state coordination. Rachel, Brandon's former victim from Phoenix, joined me on the task force. She turned out to be an absolute powerhouse, helping us identify 5 new women in Canada and 2 more in Florida. Together, we created a survivor network. Women supporting women. Sharing resources, stories, and strength. We called it Reclaim. Because that's what we were doing, taking back our names, our money, our futures. Meanwhile, Brandon was being transferred to federal custody in Chicago. His trial was set for the fall. Kelly and Foster, now fully cooperating, gave statements implicating him in schemes going back a full decade. The web was unraveling. And the best part? I wasn't hiding anymore. I was on a stage. At panels. On podcasts. Teaching others how to see the signs. How to guard their assets. How to never again fall for the kind of man who thought silence meant weakness. Because my silence was over. And my voice? That was just beginning. 6 months later, I stood at the front of a conference room at the FBI's Midwest Financial Crimes Summit, facing a packed audience of agents, prosecutors, and survivors. Behind me, the screen displayed our headline case, the Roberts Scheme. How one woman helped dismantle a multi-state fraud ring. I took a breath, adjusted the mic, and began. Fraud doesn't start with money. It starts with trust. The room fell silent. I walked them through Brandon's pattern, how he targeted successful women, built false intimacy, then slowly siphoned their resources while eroding their independence. I showed them how he operated under multiple aliases, how Kelly played the role of desperate sibling, how Foster was the enforcer hiding behind the scenes. And I showed them how all of it unraveled. Not with a dramatic chase or a wiretap, but with spreadsheets, patience, and a woman who refused to be fooled. Applause erupted when I finished, but the moment that meant the most came afterward. A woman, mid-40s, tired eyes but determined, approached me, clutching a folder of her own. "I think this might be happening to me," she said quietly. "That was why I did this. Why I kept going." Back in Milwaukee, things looked different now. Brandon Roberts, formerly known as my husband, was sentenced to 28 years in federal prison. The courtroom was filled with survivors who had flown in from across the country to testify. One by one we told our stories. Not to shame him, he had none, but to show the court the scale of the wreckage he'd left behind. Kelly and Foster each received 8 and 12-year sentences respectively, but their full cooperation led us to even bigger players. A fraud ring operating across 3 countries. The sting was expanding far beyond any of us imagined. As for me, I moved into a smaller apartment overlooking Lake Michigan. Nothing fancy, just peace. Rachel and I co-founded the Reclaim Initiative, offering legal aid, financial literacy training, and investigative resources for victims of high-control fraud. We partnered with cybercrime units, law schools, and even social media influencers to spread awareness. Some nights I still played through Brandon's final moments of arrogance in that cafe. That smug smirk before the agents closed in. The disbelief in his eyes. But what stayed with me more was what came after. The women who wrote to me. The cases we uncovered. The lives we protected. Brandon thought he was the smartest person in the room. But he underestimated something stronger than charm, deceit, or greed. He underestimated a woman with knowledge. With allies. And with purpose. The night before our first National Reclaim Summit, I sat on my balcony sipping tea, Rachel beside me reviewing our slides. "You ever think," she asked, "that all of this came from one terrible man leaving a cruel note on your fridge?" I smiled. "Best worst day of my life." She laughed. "Well, here's to bad men underestimating smart women." We clinked mugs and watched the sunrise over a world we'd helped make a little less cruel. One case at a time.